Welcome to another episode of the Chronic Comeback podcast. Today, I actually meant to record an episode. I think I said the week after I put out the last one, but you guys know me by now. I don't deliver on my promises, or I do, but it takes me months or years. I have a good reason. For anyone who follows me on Instagram, I've had dengue fever. I also had salmonella as well, which was a cool little combination to experience. Um, but yeah, I had said that I was going to put out an episode to talk about my approach to exercise. So I will touch upon that, but I definitely do want to talk also about the more crazy thing that happened to me in the last 3 weeks and has kind of dominated my life and kind of how I felt up until this point, but also really being able to put a positive spin on it and just knowing that it's life and it's happened and actually I can be stronger and better as a result. So yeah, first of all, just want to go just recap like what was happening before. So I can't, to be honest, I can't actually remember what I said in the last update. So I'll kind of give you a bit of an overview. I think since I've been in Bali, I have seen some really good improvements, but then I've seen a lot of regression and not really I've improved up until a point. And I think what was really cool is that I was able to do go to the gym again. I had times where I felt good, but then a lot of times where I felt really shitty, and I started to get new symptoms, like neurological stuff, which I was found quite scary. And so I kind of felt like I was just in this yo-yoing of feeling pretty good, not recovered, but feeling pretty good, and then feeling like I hadn't made any progression, and I'd just be going back and forth. So kind of like treading water a little bit. And something that kept happening being out here was I kept getting these stomach issues. A lot of people do get stomach issues out here, but obviously when you've got a bit of a backed up immune system like I do, then it tends to happen more and more. And I've met people that also have a lot of stomach issues out here, and then other people who are just totally fine the whole time. Um, and it's not just like uncomfortable stomach issues and toilet issues. It's you feel like shit, and like you have fatigue, fever, that kind of thing. And so I was getting a lot of that, and again, I think what I've tried to do throughout this not whole process, but through the last 3 or 4 years since I've been doing this podcast, really, is just be very honest with myself. Like, am I doing absolutely everything I can from a basic point of view? Am I moving enough? I definitely am. Am I sleeping well enough? Definitely not. Am I eating and drinking right? Also, definitely not. And that's not to say I wasn't eating healthily, but am I eating the right things for me? And I think that in itself was probably the main thing. I also went and did this, worked with this practitioner, did like she thinks that I've got particular issue with my liver, whatever. I took the supplements that she was talking about, and I um I basically just did 6 weeks. Well, just doing this whole time of eating just whole foods and nothing that wasn't like whole foods. A lot of organ meats, a lot of grass-fed meats, all of that kind of stuff, fish, and also, which is crucial, as I've got older, I've just developed this incredibly sweet tooth. I don't have like, chocolate bars or anything like that. Well, sometimes I do, but like out here, definitely not. But they have these like vegan desserts, which basically convinces you that they're like semi-healthy when they're not. Have a lot of smoothies out here, which, when you have that many, it's just not really that great for your stomach. And so I just thought I'd and the other thing as well was just having like a really strong evening routine and being committed to going to bed at a certain time. Because for me, and it's very individual, I if I start winding down at like 7, I can be really tired by 9, and I get my best sleep in those hours before midnight. for deep sleep, and then you get your REM sleep later on. And I was getting like the levels on my aura ring that I was getting were just unbelievable. And I actually felt the best I felt in a long time playing paddle, which I think I spoke about in the last one. So actual like competitive exercise, which I hadn't done in so long. And I was like, wow, this is actually the best I've felt since I got, started, getting like serious chronic illness symptoms. And then, and then, oh no, actually, what I will say is my approach to exercise with all of this. I actually haven't thought about this too much. Maybe I shouldn't be talking about it. A lot of people have asked about, setbacks and the approach and everything like that. I think it's really difficult because it probably is person specific. I do think everyone can apply this. I think so much of it is mindset. So much of it is if you go into exercise thinking that you're going to make yourself worse, like as in not your symptoms worse, because they're two different things. There's your symptoms worse, which is totally possible. Definitely do that. I've done that. Probably will continue to do that. But then it's like making whatever you think your chronic illness worse. And that's actually, I believe, for me it is anyway, I believe for most of you, that will be the deep down fear. You think that your condition, whatever it is going to get loads worse. And that's the real fear. When you start to work on that fear that, okay, I'm going to go in, I might, worst case scenario, this is going to make me be in bed for 2 days, but it's not going to, and that's my symptoms, it's not going to make my condition worse. And when you're able to get over that hump, which it took me a while, and I had a trainer, like my personal trainer, who is really good with this kind of stuff. Like I'll talk to you about how he's handling like the dengue stuff. Um, yeah, really just trusting that your body's so much stronger and more capable than you ever believed. So that is really key, getting over that fear and working on that fear. It's not going to happen overnight, but you need to stick with it for you to get that confidence. And what that means is that you need consistency, and you need to just keep going, whatever that is. So the main thing for me is that since I started this commitment, so I said just before I moved to Bali, so it's been 2.5 years now, I said, when I get to Bali, I'm going to make exercise a part of my life. I've missed it so much. Whatever it is, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to be consistent, and I'm going to do whatever this person tells me to do, and I'm going to have a minimum commitment. I think originally I said of like 6 months. And those first 6 months were really difficult. I barely made any progression. But by the end of it, I could see a little bit of progression. I could see that I was getting a little bit stronger. I could see that my pain was a little bit less. My general symptoms weren't better, but that wasn't why I was doing it. I was doing it because I wanted to get exercise back in my life. And then when weirdly, that those first 6 months, I was working with a trainer in person, and then I went back to the UK for the summer, and I was absolutely shitting myself that I was going to get loads worse because I didn't have his help. And at the beginning, I did, and that must have been the fear coming through. But then weirdly, because I was on my own, and I was seeing that kind of, I was had a setback, but then I'd go back in and I was remaining consistent. That gave me more confidence. And I actually made more progression in that time on my own than I did with him. And then by the time I got back to Bali, something had changed a little bit in me mentally, I believe. And since that point, the number of setbacks I've had have been, there's been a lot of them, but they get less and less severe. And when they do happen, they're not, then I don't have that huge fear there anymore. And therefore, they're only very limited and very rarely actually stops me from going to the gym. So anyone listening to this who's thinking, how do I do it? One, you just have to get started. That's important. I know it sounds obvious, but you do. Two, you have to remain consistent. Three, definitely do not go in and try something just like a random workout from 5 years ago when you were able to do this. That's not going to work. You need to just start very slowly. So if you don't have the money to work with someone, I would look online, like what is a gradual approach for me to get back to exercise. I'll probably even use ChatGPT, I mean, bloody hell, I've been using it a lot with work. It's probably a great idea. I'm going to try that after this. And set out a plan for 6 months and just what you're going to do and what you're going to commit to. And if there is a setback, then you take a step back, but you don't stop. So if you have a setback, you do something that's more, if you're doing like weight bearing stuff, then you do something more mobility focused or something like that. I guarantee there'll be something on the internet where it will give you a gradual approach where you can have a look at it. Whatever happens, try to find where you can get that kind of plan. One day in the future, when I'm not running the business I'm running now, I would like to do something like this where I can help people in this area because I feel like um, yeah, I feel like it's an area I'm using exercise to heal. I know that's what's making the big difference for me, and I know it's going to help me now. Anyway, giving you an update. So yeah, feeling the best I've felt in such a long time. I was just about to come back to the UK, go back to the UK for 3 weeks. And there's a lot going on. I'm raising investment with our business, and there's a lot going on with that. I think I mentioned in the previous video. I, I was had like for anyone who's got ordering sleep crowns, readiness crowns. My HIV was good. All of this stuff that might have sounded like a foreign language to a lot of you, but basically I was feeling pretty great compared to like how I had previously. And on the day I was meant to be flying back, I played paddle. And in the middle of the game, I was like, I don't feel right. This is weird. And actually, the day before, I didn't feel like totally right. And by the end of the game, you're drenched in sweat because you're playing in Bali. I was freezing cold, and it was like 34 degrees, and I was like, oh God, this isn't right. But my stomach didn't feel right. So I thought it was just another stomach issue. And when I got back, I was like, I think this is food poisoning. In fact, I'm pretty sure this is food poisoning. And I said to Sophie that because she was on a different flight because we booked at different times. I said, I'm just going to go to bed. I'm definitely going to fly, but I just need to feel a little bit better. And then I lay in bed, and over the course of the next like 2, 3 hours, I realized there was no way I could fly. Thank God I did not. That night was like one of it was just the worst night. Did not sleep at all. It's so obviously found out dengue the next day. Spoiler alert. And but what I didn't realize, and so I felt so sick the whole night, but couldn't be sick naturally. So I just had to make myself be sick, which was obviously, I knew at the time maybe it wasn't the most natural of things to do, but I had to. I just felt so sick, had the worst headache, the worst temperature, felt like I was like the fear I had about this is, they call it the bone cracking disease. So like your joints and your bones are just basically on fire. And yeah, I was like, wow, this is a brutal food poisoning. And so what I didn't realize that with dengue fever, you being dehydrated is really bad. And obviously I'd been making myself throw up. I'd barely been drinking water. The next day, I speak to Sophie and she's like, you need to test yourself for dengue. I was like, no, it's just, I'm sure it'll be fine in the 24 hours. Anyway, she convinced me to, got tested, and because I thought it was food poisoning. Turns out I did have food poisoning, I had salmonella, then I also had dengue fever. And what happens with dengue is that you have this 3-day period, which is where you have the fever and you feel horrific, which is what I did. And obviously it had salmonella as well. And then you have a 4 day period where you feel a bit better, feel really tired, but your fever's gone, but your blood platelets level drop significantly. And so the danger is that you could have internal bleeding, or that if you do bleed, you would bleed out. I kind of didn't really properly realize all of this. Sophie was telling me, but I didn't really see it as maybe that serious. And I started to feel a little bit better at the end of the 3rd day, and but my blood platelets level had dropped below 100,000. Normally they're 300,000, and at that point you're meant to go to hospital. And so I was meant to go to hospital on the Saturday. I said I really don't want to. I'll go on the Sunday because I wanted to get a good night's sleep, because you do not sleep. It's the most brutal thing about this. And so on the Sunday, I get a, I go, right, I'm going to the hotel, the hospital today. I had a shower, hot shower, and got out. And for the first time in my life, never happened before, ever. And it's, 'cause this is why it's super scary. I fainted and smashed my, well, you can't see it. I smashed my chin into the, I don't even know what I smashed it into, but completely opened it up. And obviously, when you've got a risk of bleeding out, doing that is not the most ideal thing. Luckily, it didn't, even though it was super deep, I had to have stitches. It didn't actually cause any bleeding out. Well, hence why I'm here right now. And so really lucky, of course. Really shook me up, actually. And got to the hospital. Cut a long story short about the hospital trip, it was horrible. Really, the cure is worse than the disease. I've never spent an overnight in hospital, and and I know a lot of you will have done, hopefully in nicer hospitals than that. But it was, from someone who's like, for me, like, one of the first things I do in the morning, I go and see sun. I get sunlight. I know how important it is. And obviously being able to move, or didn't get any sunlight for like almost 4 days. I think I was in there for 4 nights. The only thing you do is walk to and from your bed to the toilet. And then I just could not sleep. Mix of the dengue, which means you just really difficult to sleep, and the bed was just so uncomfortable. The food was awful. So I was like, I'm sure this is making me worse. Anyway, finally, after day 7, you're out of the critical period, and as long as your blood platelets are starting to go up, then you can leave. So I left, and then 2 days later, because I had all of this stuff going on with my business, and I was actually, from a blood platelet level, was fit to fly, I flew back to the UK. Obviously added jet lag on top of the dengue that I had recovering from salmonella. And I know a lot of you are going to say, and please don't, because I already know, you shouldn't be pushing yourself this much, blah, 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 blah. Just save it. I already know. Did a week where I was had to do a lot of business calls, investor calls, all this kind of stuff back in the UK. Saw friends, which was nice, but we already had because I'd already booked the trip back to the UK. We had 3 weeks arranged. I was back for 10 days because I missed my flight, and then flew back last Monday. So I had 2 very long haul flights whilst going through all of this. And so I still, at this point, because I'm quite jet lagged, and I've come back this week, again, I've had investor calls, um, early and late, because I simply have to, honestly. So again, please don't tell me I shouldn't be doing it. Um, and so adding 2 lots of jet lag on top of dengue. So that's a lot of negativity I've just dropped on you guys. But I think what's been really difficult about this is that I've now not done any exercise until this week. So I had 3 weeks not doing any exercise. I started to eat really badly, because you kind of comfort eat a little bit when you start eating again. I lost like 5 or 6 kilograms, so whatever that is in pounds, like 13, 14 pounds, pretty much all muscle, just put on back on fat. And so I'm just gonna have to put on air conditioning in here. It's very hot. And yeah, so and then I was so tired on like these days. I've stopped drinking coffee in the period of time before, felt great for it. Started drinking coffee again. Definitely not a good idea. Definitely not great for my nervous system. I'm still drinking coffee to this day. I'm going to stop tomorrow. That's the plan. So it kind of weakens your, not only does it weaken your immune system, etc., but when you're that tired, feel that bad, your willpower goes as well. And so even though I knew I needed exercise, I really my willpower to restart really had gone, and it's still not there now. And that has been really difficult. Seeing all of my aura scores in my aura ring, like I haven't had a good night's sleep in that long. My resting heart rate variability is still not great. So everything's taking a long time. But I think what's amazing about all of this is that previously, so 2017, I left my job, went to Guatemala to see my brother. My brother was there, and I was going to be basically spending time to recover. Went to see my brother had like begged me to go to Guatemala, said it'd be amazing for you, your health. Got there, and within a week, my stomach started to be really bad, and I went and like checked, and someone was like, "Yeah, I mean, you've definitely got a parasite. If you're in Lake Atitlan in Guatemala, you will get a parasite." And I was fuming with my brother that he would let me come to a place where I could get a parasite. I was so petrified of picking something up that was going to make me worse that I just like I freaked out. And that in itself was a terrible mindset to be in, because that in itself was increasing more fight or flight, increasing more feelings of that my body was weak, etc., etc. And in these 3 days of fever where I was on my own, Sophie had gone back to the UK. I was really, really in a dark place mentally because of sleep deprivation, the fever, all of that kind of stuff. But what I kept saying to myself is that you've been through worse, you've got through worse, you're strong, you will get through this. You're going to prove this to yourself, and this will make you so much stronger on the other side. By the end of the third day, I had come through the fever. At the end of the week, I was still really fatigued. The 2 weeks, still very fatigued, still not right. And even now, I'm telling you about all of this. However, progression is being made. Progression is being made just very slowly. And my body is showing that even with all this stuff I've heaped on it, 2 long haul flights, investor calls. Remember, don't have a go at me. Don't remind me. I know I shouldn't be doing it, but I am. So leave me alone. That I'm still able to make progression. And all of the stuff that I'm doing in addition, the investor calls, all of that kind of stuff, it's also proving to me that I am capable, I am strong, and I am able to take on a lot. That being said, does need to be counterbalanced by taking care of myself, rest, all of that kind of stuff. And actually, after this recording of this, for the first time in a while, because obviously when I had dengue, I couldn't work at all. That was another thing as well, like a lot built up. So I had, 5 days of not working at all, not speaking to anyone, all of these investor calls built up. So I worked pretty much solidly since I've been able to. So the rest of this weekend, I'm just relaxed. I'm now back eating the way I'm meant to eat. I've been to the gym very slowly this week, yeah, nothing too much. I played a game of paddle, but it was like an hour. It felt like I was kind of pushing it, so not doing too much. But when I keep looking back and I look back at where I was before, a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I'm making progression. I'm proving to myself that I am stronger. And so there's two ways I can look at this. I can say, oh, wow, I've got dengue, I've had dengue, that's going to make my immune system worse. It's just another bloody virus that's in my system. Or it's no, okay, this is just making my body more resilient, making my mindset more resilient. And who knows? Who knows actually, like whether it could be the first one or not. But I'm pretty sure it's the latter. Um, I'm pretty sure that all of this experience that I've had so far means that I'm able to get through this, and without sounding too cheesy and woo woo. I hate that word, woo woo. Why would I say that? But yeah, believe the universe is like giving me these things for a reason, and I think I'm gonna be sharing my next update with you, telling you that I'm feel much better. I'm gonna be sharing updates on Instagram, showing you, the condition that like, in terms of like being able to do big workouts that I can get to. This isn't gonna set me back. It set me back a little bit. I'm so disappointed that my aura scores. I mean, I know I've gone about aura a lot, but Jesus, it's like terrible. I almost took my aura ring off the whole time, so I didn't affect my scores, but then I just thought that wasn't realistic. So um I think I think the I just know I know deep down I'm gonna be back stronger than ever after this. And it was just a little, I think it's almost just a little reminder, a little slap around the face when I'm thinking, wow, I'm feeling good. It's like, no, you've got a way to go, my friend. Um, don't get too confident, or something like that. There's a reason for it for sure. Unfortunately, with dengue fever, if you get it twice or three times, it gets more serious the more you get it. So I definitely need to be more careful with that, with that. But yeah, I think that's mainly it, really. I wanted to do this in this period. I was actually going to do it last week, but really could not with availability. I wanted to do it now because I'm still not through it all. I'm still kind of dealing with it. Definitely not back to anywhere near full strength. I'm still yet to have an amazing night's sleep in, best over 3 weeks now. When I say an amazing night's sleep, a good night's sleep, where I feel, some form of refresh. I feel like I just feel a bit hungover pretty much most of the time. So I thought it was important to do it now. So just to show that it is possible to be in a more progressive, positive mindset when you're still in the thick of it, still going through tough times of it, still feel like I'm to balance you know, the the stresses of life, career, on top of the health stuff, and just dealing with that. And I think the universe, as I said, can work in funny ways, and I feel like almost like it's given me this so I can learn a lesson, and then you guys can have a little bit of a lesson on me as well. Um, but that's it really. I just wanted to come on just let you guys know what's been happening. I think it's dealing with something like this on top of a chronic illness is an interesting physical, but obviously also mental thing to deal with. And I think it's really important that I shared it, not like in months when I'm feeling much better or weeks or whatever, but now when I'm in the thick of it. I mean, I could have done one when I was high on my fever, but I, yeah, wouldn't have wanted to do that. So yeah, hopefully the next time you see me, I'll be a lot more tanned because I've lost all of my tan. I've now got the UK skin back, less bags under my eyes. Dealing with more than 5 hours, 4 or 5 hours sleep a night, and yeah, don't know what else. God, and hopefully be able to articulate myself and think and not ramble. But hey, if you've been listening to me for this long, you'll know that's kind of my style. Anyway, guys, hope this was helpful. If it wasn't, who the hell cares, right? It was only half an hour. Go and watch something cool on YouTube to counteract it. And yeah, thanks for tuning in as always. The podcast is coming back. I think I've got about 13 or 14 episodes now to release. I've got plenty of people that I'm still to book in with. If you're watching this, I will do that. Just going to take some time. For now, I will just try to keep these updates coming because I think, they're easy for me to do pretty much. And yeah, I put them out very raw, no editing. So yeah, cool guys. All right. And yeah, take care. See you soon. Bye.